I exposed my husband's affair with his girl best friend at a family gathering because of my father-in-law. My husband Theo, 34, and I, 31, have been married for 9 years. We have 3 wonderful sons together, and I'm currently 3 months pregnant with what was supposed to be our first daughter. But that dream shattered when I found out about Theo's emotional affair with his girl best friend, Lena. This betrayal, combined with the stress of an already fractured relationship with my father-in-law, led me down a dark path, one that ended in me losing my baby. And the hardest part, no one knew why I miscarried, not even Theo's family, until now. But before I get to that, let me tell you how things escalated to a point where I felt like I had no other option but to expose the entire truth at a family gathering, turning the event into a storm of emotions that neither Theo nor his family were prepared for. From the very beginning, I never had a good relationship with my father-in-law. His name is Ryan, and let's just say he has always been a piece of work. Even before I became part of their family, I knew he was difficult. His wife passed away years ago, and I think that loss hardened him. But still, the way he treated me was borderline cruel at times. It didn't help that Theo shared every little problem we had with his family. No matter how small or personal, Theo would vent to his father about it. If I complained about something minor, Ryan would later throw it back in my face, twisting it into something much bigger than it was. Theo never stood up for me. He would just brush it off as if it were nothing, telling me, "That's just how my dad is." I tolerated it for years, hoping things would get better, but they didn't. It felt like I was constantly walking on eggshells whenever we attended family events, which were frequent. Theo's family is big on gatherings, and while I tried to fit in, I always felt like the outsider. Ryan made sure of that. 2 years ago, my world crumbled when I found out about Theo's emotional affair with Lena, his childhood friend. Lena has always been around, and I had my suspicions, but Theo assured me over and over that it was just a friendship. He said that I had nothing to worry about. I wanted to believe him, for the sake of our kids and our marriage. But the truth came out one evening, when I found inappropriate text messages between them. Theo swore they had never slept together, but the emotional connection he shared with her felt like a deeper betrayal to me. He confessed that he leaned on her for emotional support and that it had gotten out of hand. I was devastated. The stress of it all, compounded with my pregnancy at the time, was too much. A few weeks after I found out about their emotional affair, I miscarried. Losing our daughter was the hardest thing I've ever experienced. I blamed myself, my stress, my inability to cope with what was happening. But the truth was, Theo's betrayal played a major role in my mental and emotional state. I never told anyone in his family why I miscarried. No one knew the real reason behind the loss, and I preferred it that way. Except for Ryan. He never seemed to care. He didn't ask how I was doing. He never checked in to see if I needed anything. It was as if my pain didn't matter to him at all. Theo, to his credit, felt immense guilt. After the affair came to light and the miscarriage followed, he did everything he could to make up for what he had done. He started doing all the housework, cleaning, cooking, and managing the daily chores without a single complaint. He stopped sharing our private issues with his family and cut off contact with Lena. He was trying, and I could see that. But the trust? That was broken, and no amount of effort on his part could fix it completely. We stayed together, but I kept my distance emotionally. I didn't have the strength to leave, even though I thought about it daily. We have 3 sons, and I'm not capable of providing for myself or them. I'm an orphan with no family of my own to fall back on, and I don't have work experience that would allow me to support myself and my children independently. More importantly, I didn't trust Theo's family to help raise my boys if I left. So, I stayed. For my children, for the life I had built, despite the cracks in its foundation. 2 years passed since the affair and miscarriage, and though I wasn't the same person I was before, I learned to survive in this new reality. That is, until Theo's family decided to host another large gathering. We had avoided big family events for a while, partly due to me not wanting to face Ryan, and partly because Theo didn't want to push me into anything that made me uncomfortable. But this time, his father insisted. My husband's nephew, a sweet little boy who didn't know any better, innocently asked me about the baby I had lost. He hadn't known she was gone, and the question hit me like a brick. I didn't know how to respond, so I just looked down, feeling the weight of my grief all over again. The room went silent, and the mood shifted to something heavier, something darker. That's when Ryan decided to open his mouth. Ryan said, "You know, you should really get over this. It's been 2 years. It's not like it was something important, just a daughter. These things happen." Those words, just a daughter. Like my baby's life was some insignificant, forgettable event. Like her existence didn't matter. I felt the rage building inside of me, a volcano ready to explode. And before I could stop myself, I snapped. "Just a daughter? You think losing my child is something I should just get over? Let me tell you something, Ryan. The reason I lost my daughter wasn't just some random tragedy. It was because of your son." The room fell into stunned silence. Theo froze next to me, his eyes wide, pleading silently for me to stop. But I couldn't. I had held on to this for too long. "Your son cheated on me with Lena. It wasn't a physical affair, but it was enough to tear me apart. I found out while I was pregnant, and the stress from his betrayal caused me to lose my baby. So no, I will not get over it." Everyone sat there, shocked. No one knew what to say. My mother-in-law had always been the quiet, gentle type, and I could see the tears welling up in her eyes as the weight of what I'd just said settled in. My father-in-law, however, didn't show any signs of remorse. He just sat there, expressionless. Before anyone could respond, I stood up and left. I didn't say goodbye to anyone. I didn't care about the looks of shock or confusion on their faces. I grabbed my purse, walked out the door, and kept walking until I reached my car. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I could barely breathe. The weight of what I had just done was sinking in, but at that moment, I didn't regret it. I was tired of pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. I was tired of living a lie. I booked a room at a nearby hotel and collapsed on the bed, feeling a mixture of relief and panic. I didn't know what to do next. My life had been flipped upside down, and I was alone, feeling lost. My phone buzzed incessantly with calls and texts from Theo, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. I was too exhausted, too broken. I missed my sons terribly, but I couldn't go back. Not yet. Update. After spending a night at the hotel, I finally looked at my phone. I was expecting angry texts from Theo, or perhaps his family, but instead, I found message after message from Theo, apologizing. He wasn't mad. He understood why I had snapped, why I had told everyone the truth. He begged me to come home, saying that the boys were asking for me and that he needed me. His words didn't feel manipulative. They felt genuine. For the first time in a long time, it felt like he truly understood my pain. I didn't want to forgive him. Not yet. But I decided to go back. Not for him, but for my sons. They needed me, and I couldn't abandon them, even if I felt like running far away from everything. When I got home, the sight of my boys running up to hug me melted my heart. They were crying, clinging to me, and I realized just how much my absence had affected them. Theo stood in the doorway, looking relieved and heartbroken all at once. He apologized over and over again, not just for the affair, but for everything. For telling his family about our private matters, for not standing up for me when his father treated me poorly, for letting me carry the burden of my miscarriage alone. I could see that he meant it. He knew how much he had hurt me, and for the first time in 2 years, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we could start to heal. He told me he had cut off all contact with Lena the moment I found out about the affair, and that he was committed to being transparent with me moving forward. I wanted to believe him, but trust is a fragile thing, and I wasn't ready to fully trust him again. Second update. We've started to rebuild our lives. It's not easy, and I still have moments where I doubt whether staying was the right decision. But Theo has been doing everything he can to prove that he's changed. He's more present with our sons, more attentive to my needs, and he no longer hides anything from me. As for my father-in-law, I haven't heard from him since that day. Theo told me that his mother is furious with him for what he said to me, and she has refused to speak to him until he apologizes. But knowing Ryan, I doubt that apology will ever come. I've made peace with that. I don't need an apology from him to move on. I just want peace. And if that means cutting certain toxic people out of my life, so be it. Theo's family gatherings are a thing of the past now. We've decided to focus on our little family, our 3 sons and us. It's not perfect, and it's not always easy, but it feels like we're on the right path. I've decided to give Theo a second chance, not because I'm weak, but because I see the effort he's making. He's shown me that he's willing to do the work, and as long as he continues to prove himself, I'm willing to see where this new chapter takes us. To everyone who has offered advice and support, thank you. Your words have given me strength during some of the darkest days of my life. I know that my story isn't over yet, and I'm not sure what the future holds for us. But I do know this: I'm stronger than I ever thought I could be. I've survived betrayal, loss, and heartache, and I'm still standing. As for my father-in-law, I've let go of any hope for a relationship with him. He's shown me who he truly is, and I have no interest in allowing his toxicity back into my life. My focus is on my children, my marriage, and my own healing. I'm not sure if forgiveness is in the cards for Theo, but I'm willing to see where this journey takes us, one day at a time.